The Embated Times of Richard Burton, Richard Harris, Peter O'Toole, and Oliver Reed. Hellraisers. Ooh. So this is what's really cool. I was listening to this thing on Clubhouse today about how to be a better speaker, and they talked about how when Kobe Bryant was learning how to be a basketball player and trying really hard, he studied all of the people who were above him or better basketball players. So this is really cool because I get to read about all of these awesome leading men. I think Brian sent me this book, so I decided to go and read it live with you guys. I thought it could be a cool new book. What I'm doing right now is what I normally do. I do live streams practically almost every day for my supporters in my YouTube, my Patreons, and my Facebook. It's an extra bit of content that you guys will get. And I'm just doing a free trial right now for everybody. So check it out. Robert Sellers is the author of 9 books. He has contributed to Empire, Total Film, Cinema Retro, and The Independent. A former stand-up comedian, he lives in the United Kingdom with his wife and daughter. Ooh, very interesting. Okay. Very excited to read this. To the Hellraisers of the world, who have swapped vodka shots for cocoa. Ooh. For a nice cuddly pair of slippers and a night in cells for a book at bedtime. That's what we do, guys. We read bedtime books. All right. Oh, all of these people were interviewed for this book. So many big people. Hello, hello, hello. Who's here? Hey, Jason. How are you? Good to see you. Okay. Hellraisers. God put me on this earth to raise sheer hell. Richard Burton. I want a sinner. I sludge some people. I hurt many people. And it's true, I never look back to see the casualties. Richard Harris. Booze is the most outrageous of all drugs, which is why I chose it. Peter O'Toole. I don't have a drinking problem, but if that was the case and doctors told me I had to stop, I'd like to think I would be brave enough to drink myself into a grave. Oliver Reed. Okay, I'm learning a lot about these guys. This is where, yeah. Okay. Spitting image television sketch. A telephone rings. A hideously unrealistic Oliver Reed puppet looking like a hybrid of Father Christmas and Hannibal Lecter and sitting in a luxurious chair near a roaring fire picks it up. Reed. Hello. Cut out a skeleton of Peter O'Toole alone in bed. O'Toole. 023 0923. That's your number. Reed. Oh, O'Toole. O'Toole. Oliver Reed by my beard. Tell me, was I with you last night? Reed. Ha 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 ha. Undoubtedly. We quaffed a few, as it were, and quaffed again. What does that mean? Okay. Going to skip this sketch and go to the introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome. They are the foremost extraordinary and controversial film stars Britain ever produced. Men who at their peak had the whole world at their feet and lived through some of the wildest exploits Hollywood has ever seen. But all that fame had a price. Richard Burton's liver was shot by the time he reached 50. Just one more drink would have killed him. Insurance companies wouldn't touch Richard Harris with a barge pole, and his film career stalled for over a decade. Peter O'Toole's drinking almost put him in the grave before his 43rd birthday, and his generally eccentric behavior led to public humiliation and one of the biggest disasters the London stage has ever known. Oliver Reed ended up prematurely dying after an arm wrestling contest with a bunch of 18-year-old sailors on the eve of scoring his biggest movie ever, triumph with Gladiator. That's so sad. What follows is a story of four of the greatest boozers that ever walked or staggered into a pub. It's a story of drunken binges of near biblical proportions, parties and orgies, broken marriages, a lot of other things I probably couldn't say in this live stream. Indeed, if you or I had perpetrated some of the most outrageous acts, it would have resulted in a jail sentence. Yet, these piss artists were seemingly immature from the law. They got away with the kind of behavior that today's sterile bunch of film stars can scarcely dream of, because of who they were, and because of the public loved them. They were truly the last of a dying breed, the last of the movie Hellraisers. This book traces the intertwining lives and careers of Richard Burton, Richard Harris, Peter O'Toole, and Oliver Reed, plus an assortment of other movie boozers who crawled across their path, people like Lee Marvin, Trevor Howard, and Robert Mitchum. It's a celebratory catalog of their miscreant deeds, a great privilege hits package, as it were, of their most breathtakingly outrageous behavior, told with humor, affection, lashings of political incorrectness, and not an ounce of moralizing. Enjoy it. They bloody well did it. Throughout the history of movies, there have always been hellraisers. Actors and booze go together, like Rodgers and Hammerstein, or eggs and bacon. Film producer Hugh Lloyd, who worked over the years with Frank Sinatra, Robert Mitchum, and Dean Martin, says that drinking simply went with the job. Whether it was lack of confidence or just habit, it was hard to tell, but a destroyer could comfortably swim in the ocean of liquid consumed by actors. Lloyd's association with Burton and Harris was the boys' own adventure, perhaps the archetypical Hellraiser movie, The Wild Geese, which also starred veteran bruiser Stuart Garner and Roger Moore, himself not averse to a bit of elbow bending, but able to hold it more than most. By 1978, after decades on the piss, Burton and Harris were mere shadows of their former selves. One day during a break in filming, they sat together under the African sun, reminiscing and trying to make sense of their lives. "We were like two old men," Harris said, "once the greatest hellraisers in the world. We were now too tired to stand up and pee." After 2 hours of philosophical discussion, we came to the conclusion that the tragedy of our lives was the amount of it we don't remember, because we were too drunk to remember. So why did they do it? Burton, Harris, O'Toole, and Reed. Why did they drink themselves to death, or, in the case of O'Toole, come within a hairbreadth of it? Burton said it was to burn up the flatness of the stale, empty, dull deadness that one feels when one goes off stage. Most likely it was to get over the realization that he was appearing in a piece of shit. Nor was he adverse to getting pissed on the job. Maybe it went hand in hand with his reputation as a legendary womanizer. Not long after starting his infamous affair with Elizabeth Taylor on the set of Cleopatra. Hello, is anyone here? This is the first time I had an urge like I did in this book was when my... Oh, yeah. No, I get it. I don't drink at all. So, I get that. Burton answered the phone at her home. It was Taylor's husband, Eddie Fisher, demanding to know what he was doing there. "What do you think I'm doing?" Burton replied. "I'm effing your wife." Probably emptying his drinking cabinets as well. Burton's intake was prodigious. Prodigious. How do you say that word? At the height of his boozing, in the mid-70s, he was knocking back 3 to 4 bottles of hard liquor a day. On The Klansman, he was drunk for the entire production. "I barely recall making that film," he confessed. Burton loved the sheer sociability of booze, drinking in pubs, talking with mates, and sharing stories. He was a man who enjoyed life better with a glass in his hand. After it was sex that he loved the most in his life, coupled with his nicotine addiction. It's rumored he smoked 50 a day. Wow. Burton embraced that seemingly inbred Celtic desire to walk dangerously close to the precipice, perhaps more than anyone. Harris, too, loved the communal nature of boozing. He loved nothing better than going to the pub on his own and by the end of the evening, being surrounded by a new gang of boisterous pals. Men, not women, he'd state. Boozing is man's world. For years, Harris habitually drank 2 bottles of vodka a day. They would take me up to 7 in the evening. Then I'd break open a bottle of brandy and a bottle of port and mix the two. Oh my goodness. These guys. Asked by a reporter once to describe how much booze he'd consume over a lifetime, Harris was only exaggerating mildly when he replied, I could sail the QE2 to the Falkland lands on all the liquor I drank. There was also an element of being the naughty schoolboy about Harris's drinking of showing off. I adored getting drunk and I adored reading in the papers what I had done the night before. He knew full well what he was doing by getting pissed all the time. And it's so different, like London, like the grammar of somebody from like the UK and then reading it as an American. It's definitely interesting. Anyway, guys, so every day I read a little bit of different books depending on, sometimes if you guys send me a book, I will read it. I'm grateful to hang out with you and read tonight. I just wanted to come on here and thank you guys for all supporting me so much on Facebook. I love you. Thanks for being supporters, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.